super secret location deep within the mountains of Colorado, it's time to strap up, strap in, or strap on with your host, Shenanigans in One Shot. It's From the Ashes Radio!
Good evening, folks. Welcome to From the Ashes Radio Show on About Face Media. I am your host, One Shot Seth, with CEO, founder of Warriors Next Adventure, the man who tried to conquer the Atlantic Ocean, professional MMA fighter, jiu-jitsu guy, Nicholas Rom.
Amateur. Yeah, I didn't make it. How's it going, guys? Glad to be here. Rob can't make it tonight, so I'm filling in for his bald ass. Sorry.
Oh, that's fine. You have more hair than him. That means you're better looking.
I don't know. He's a pretty good looking dude. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh my goodness, folks. We have a lot of stuff on for the show tonight. So we will do our best to stay on time. Try and stay at the schedule. Did you have anything new this week to talk about? What was your week like?
Well, I mean, as a lot of you know, I'm here in Colorado for 3 weeks doing the Marcus Institute of Brain Health. And I want to share this with veterans because we're at the last week of our 3 weeks, and it's an intensive outpatient program where you go in for veterans that have TBIs and PTSD. They have some of the best doctors in the world there. And the best part is, as a lot of veterans know, a lot of the help that we end up having, they don't always feel like they're into it. All the people at Marcus have been some of the best doctors, some of the best ologists that I've ever worked with. And, it's been tough, man. They've been bringing up a lot of stuff, and I've done a lot of processing on my military stuff. So that's kind of been like good, but they're bringing up a lot of stuff in my childhood. And that's something that I'm noticing when I work with veterans. There's a lot of vets that have a lot of unfinished business with childhood, and they never really worked on it. Right. Because we're taught in the military to push everything down, suppress. And this is a program that actually helps you kind of lift some of that stuff off. And, think about taking stuff out of your pack and throwing it away. You don't need it anymore.
Yeah, but you still got to look at it when you pull it out.
Yeah, you can't just toss it.
You have to not be scared of it, but understand that there's going to be some challenges, some emotional roller coaster riding. I think going through with that, at least for me, it was.
No, absolutely.
Because I did when I started diving into some therapy for things outside of childhood, growing up, military. Or military, like you're dealing with all this military stuff, but really we're dealing with the person as a whole, right?
Yep.
So you get the whole person. Okay, you get to have Leave It to Beaver, Leave It to Beaver life, and you still have shit from your childhood.
Yep.
No matter fucking what. And I think most, especially combat veterans, probably didn't have Leave It to Beaver, but
even fair assumption for most vets.
All right.
I mean, who's rushing to go to war? It's usually guys that just want to get the hell out of where they're at,
Or not even just that, but like it's a. I said this a few weeks ago, but we need motherfuckers out there.
Yeah.
Not motherfuckers who didn't wear a fucking helmet, didn't wear knee pads, broke bones, were willing to and understand, being a little wild.
Yeah.
Combat's pretty fucking wild. So anyway, no matter what, you end up looking at the person or going through yourself as a whole, and things are going to get brought up.
Yeah.
I don't think it's anything that you should be scared of, but I would find it odd if you didn't have some fear.
Yeah, and when you start working through some of this stuff, have you ever taken EMDR therapy?
No.
So it's a lot of like internal processing, right? They give you something to think about, and you go back to a certain memory. And usually there's some sort of left-right movement, right? Because what it does is it triggers both hemispheres of your brain while you're processing the trauma.
Okay.
And that's why recreational therapy works so well. It's very similar to EMDR because the left-right movement of your feet while you're walking, we're focusing on whatever event it is that you're working on, like us working on race cars, playing with wolves or whatever.
Right.
While we're talking about some of the traumas at the same time. The traumas aren't the focus. The current event is. And they kind of pair together.
Exactly. So you're doing, we talked about this like months ago. Yeah. We were talking about, and I'll screw all this up in detail, but, we have as veterans had so many high adrenaline type situations that had lots of, I don't want to say negative, but lots of traumatizing, fucked up shit to see and deal with in that high adrenaline state of mind. So kind of reprogramming and doing high adrenaline activities. Maybe
Yep.
not like I don't think equine therapy is necessarily high.
For me, it is.
But
I'm terrified of horses, bro. Like that was the hardest thing I had to do this week.
I was literally going into that because I was thinking about how you said you're kind of scared of horses. It isn't for me because I was this tall with boots and boots, basketball shorts, and no shirt, riding around on a fucking horse. So it's different for different people. But doing activities and then talking about like you said, the issues we're talking about, but then also reprogramming the brain on those to where we can do those high adrenaline activities.
Yep.
And they can be fun and healthy and safe.
Yeah, it's called creating new neural pathways, right?
Thank you.
So
I said I'd mess up. The finer, correct details would be screwed up by me.
So this is part of what I'm writing about in my book too. So my experiences with recreational therapy and how it's helped veterans actually get to the point where they can deal with their traumas and has a little less power over them. Because when you're doing the new event or whatever we're doing with Warriors Next Adventure, any kind of hike or the mountain climbing, fishing, race cars, all that stuff. What we're doing is we call it the happiness cocktail. That's what I call it, right? Now, this is a theory. I'm not a neuroscience researcher or anything like that. So think about these 5 neurotoxins. You have endorphins, you have oxytocin, serotonin, dopamine, and adrenaline, right? Those are usually what's firing when we're in some sort of combat situation, right?
Right.
Because you have your friends, you have the endorphins because you're working your ass off. You get the serotonin and dopamine from completing the mission and doing the mission. And then you have the adrenaline of all the shit that's going on. So what we do is we do that again in a safe, controlled chaos environment where we're giving them all of those things, including the adrenaline. But what's happening is that new experience is kind of overlaid on top of the trauma now. So what you do is you take away a little bit of that power that your past has over you, and you give it to something more positive. So I mean, it's just creating new neural pathways, and that's why it works. So part of the book is going to explain some of that.
Right. I think a lot of that has to do with reprogramming and changing your normality.
100%.
We're gonna get into a couple subjects today, but I think that, and we've talked about this. I think we even brought it up a little bit last week. Was the amount of substance abuse problems there is in the veteran community and in the active duty military too, where you are so programmed to that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to fucking drink. Well, not anymore, but you're supposed to drink Bud Light out of the can, unless you're out on a date and you drink it in a bottle, right? And you're supposed to, for all the time. And that's what the tough guys do. They still shoot.
And it is pouring out there.
It is unleashing. I'm gonna get our security close some windows. Hold on one second.
So a lot of what we were talking about with substance use, some of the things that we try to do is we try to get veterans to live a better life, and a lot of that has to do with sobriety, right? It doesn't mean that you can't enjoy a beer here and there. It doesn't mean that you can't go out with the boys occasionally. But you have to focus on when you're overdoing it, right? Are you drinking to suppress memories? That's a problem, right? That's something that everybody needs to look at. I was an alcoholic for a long time after I got in the military. And unfortunately, it took a suicide attempt for me to really figure out, like, I need to get my shit together.
Yeah. But going back, I didn't mean
Okay, we're back.
We are. Holy crap. That I want to pat myself on the back. That was some amazing IT work that I did.
You did a great job.
We all know that's complete bullshit.
We just had a crazy storm go through and knocked out the Wi-Fi. So sorry about that, guys.
Just a moment. But we are back. So far, the bunker has held up, but the Wi-Fi did not there for a minute. So going back to exactly what we're saying is that normality where being in the military is tough guy. Let's drink our Bud Lights in the can. Let's fucking get hammered. Let's wake up at 6 a.m. and outrun everybody else around us.
Yep.
That's the toughest guy in the room, right? And then you get out and you're with your veteran crew and everything's all about just drinking and drinking a little bit more and then a lot of bit more. And that becomes just your normality. So it's so hard to get to a stage where normal is waking up and not drinking. Normal is getting up and eating a healthy breakfast. You know what I mean? Like once you like get used to eating healthy, it feels weird to eat junk food, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Once you're used to not drinking, it's odd to have a drink.
Well, training for MMA fights too, like you have to think. You go through a fight camp and you're extremely clean. Mm-hmm. And then I was a pizza guy, so as soon as my fight was over, the first thing I do to eat a pizza, I'd throw up every time.
Oh, so
but I would do it every time.
Oh yeah,
it's worth it.
It's totally worth it, right?
But the thing is, a lot of people need to think about too is you don't have to change everything all at once, right? You're setting yourself up for failure with that. Start with one thing. Try to slow down your drinking, and then eventually, eat a healthier diet. Go to the gym. Try it once a week, and go to 2 times a week, 3 times a week. I found my perfect level is at least 5 physical activities a week. Yep. It's 3 times the gym, twice, 2 to 3 times for jiu-jitsu when I can make it. And don't beat yourself up too. It's a long process.
Yeah, absolutely. Like if your goal was 3 days in the gym a week, right? And you're 6 weeks in, and you only got in 1 because you had extra work to do, a kid got sick, something happened, you only get 1. Are you upset about it?
Usually no. I usually got too much shit going on. In the past, I was.
In the past, she wasn't. But there's this really cool analogy I heard once. A friend of mine had kind of struggled with some things and got off track a little bit, got back on track. And somebody was telling him, like, dude, let's say you're doing an 800-mile road trip, okay? And at 150 miles, you blew a tire. Do you get a tow truck and have it towed back to square one? No, you swap out a tire and you keep moving.
Yeah.
Do you start all of a sudden back from zero?
Yeah.
No, you still got that 150 miles.
Well, that's what I always tell people, take 1 step a day. At the end of the year, you're 365 steps forward.
Right.
Even if you backtrack once or twice, you're still probably 360 days forward.
Exactly, man. And that's fucking great. So anyway, and I know I'm harping on this a little bit, but just, I don't know if I said this to you or I hadn't asked you this question, but I really want to know what the number is of veterans that are killing themselves every fucking day with alcohol. Compared to, and I don't want to, it sounds bad to compare, but we're always preaching that, 22 veterans a day kill themselves. We all know that the real number is not 22. It's significant. It's not stress. It's not 30. It's not 35. It's like upper 40s from what I've been able to gather.
There was a new report that tried saying it was 17. I'm like, that's horseshit.
Yeah, it's horseshit. But either way, I wish it was correct horseshit. But because 17 is still horseshit. Until it's 0, it's terrible. But and I'm not trying to take away from the lightest of like blowing my brains out suicide at all. I'm just saying, like, how many fucking veterans are killing themselves with alcohol?
Just drinking themselves.
Literally drinking themselves to death. Liver failure, to the point where they've cut their life short, or they're so intoxicated and so upset about things they blow their brains out. Because
I'd like to see the reports of how many veterans that commit suicide that were at a high alcohol level.
Every fucking one of them.
I'd be interested to see that.
I know. I would love to see the exact number, but I've never ever heard of somebody killing themselves sober. Ever.
No, and if they do, it's extremely rare. Almost everyone that I have on the crisis line, they're drunk.
Oh, fucking.
Almost everyone.
Blitz like that.
Yeah.
Blowing numbers or blowing a BAC that is not even close to 0.08.
And that's the first thing I ask when somebody does call the crisis line, because I want to know, like, are you intoxicated? Like, do you have somebody safe with you? And that's the biggest thing. We were talking about it upstairs before the show. no matter who you are, you have somebody to call. No one's ever alone. There's crisis lines. There's all kinds of stuff that you can reach out to somebody at any point in time. And it's hard not to get to that level where if somebody tries to take their own life, that it's selfish.
Yeah.
It's a hard thing to talk about, but being somebody who's attempted, it was 100% selfish, right? Does it make it like it's still wrong either way, because that's not the way out, right? It's still sad. It's still like I still have sympathy and empathy for that person.
Absolutely.
100%, because I know where they're at.
Right.
But it's not the fucking choice. That nothing gets solved from that, because you get family members that lose a spouse, you get children who lose a father or a mother, and I was almost one of them. And I think about it nearly every day, man. And it's a terrible thing that I did. And I'm just lucky enough that I suck at killing myself. So not funny, but kind of funny.
Oh, but we laugh at terrible things. But,
yeah.
Thank God that I'm gonna leave that alone. That's your shit. Folks, because of this crazy storm on the bunker, we were kind of jumbled with schedule and our bits being lined up. So we have one of the greatest private Carls. I cannot wait for this private Carl. But our guest is in the green room. I really want to bring him in. I'm hoping he was able to hear some of this and was able to not have too many complications getting in. But let's bring him in, and then we'll go from there. Jesse, how are you, sir?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Not a whole lot, folks. We have Jesse from VFW Post 1 in tonight. Jesse, welcome in.
Thanks, guys. So what do you guys want to know? Because I just basically got a text from Rob, and he was like,
we wanted you
on the show, and he's been bugging me for months, and finally I had some open time.
How about we start with just a little bit about yourself? Are you a veteran? If you are, what'd you do? When did you serve? Tell us just a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get going.
Works. So to be at any level in the VFW, you have to be a veteran, and you have to be a veteran of some foreign war. And I'm pretty sure all of us, we're post 9/11 veterans. So, and a lot of people just think Iraq and Afghanistan. I'm a little different. I'm a part of detainee ops, so I got to deal with that. I was in the Navy and a master at arms, which is basically a military police officer. So that's kind of how I got thrown into that. Joined 2003, got out in 2008. Got out, didn't know what to do with my life. And then ended up like most veterans, because you guys were talking about suicide earlier. The VFW was what saved my life. I was in a very dark spot, and basically a buddy of mine that I was deployed with, who used to also live in Denver, he just kind of like phoned me up one day when I was a lot of people don't take enough credit for, when you do realize that it's better to make that decision to not pull the trigger. So basically he called me when I was contemplating and told me that there was a VFW in Denver and that it had an art gallery. And I'm an artist, and I was like, huh, what? And he was like, no, you need to come down here and check this out and probably show some of your work. And then so basically I kind of started that way. I first started there 2015, and then within about 6 months started running the art, started basically running the whole art program with a couple other veterans, and we ended up founding what is now called the Veteran Arts Council down there. And then 2020 rolled around, and I was already in line to be the quartermaster adjutant for Post 1, and basically got held the here's the keys early because, COVID lockdowns and everything. So the guy that was in before me, he was in healthcare, so he couldn't really continue to do this because what a quartermaster and adjutant is in the VFW is basically the chief operating officer and the chief financial officer all rolled into one. So basically, I ended up getting the post through its first pandemic. Well, not its first pandemic, but this one, because we've been around since 1899. So we went through the flu pandemic back in 100 years ago. But yeah, so and then I've basically just been moving up the ranks ever since then, and I am going to be running for the Department of Colorado's quartermaster adjutant role, which is basically I would be the first post 9/11 veteran to basically be an officer in the Department of Colorado. So,
oh, very cool.
That's amazing. So, kind of an ignorant question for you. Post one, it was the first VFW.
Yeah. So, Post One was actually founded right here in Denver, Colorado, by General Irving Hale. If you don't know that name, there's like the Hale neighborhood in Denver. There's Camp Hale, which is where the 10th Mountain basically was formed and started in World War II. So he was a pretty influential figure. And basically how it happened was the Colorado Volunteers, which is now what is the Colorado National Guard, they basically went over and did the Philippine insurrection during the Spanish-American War. And when the government called them home, they basically dropped them off at the port and said, figure out how to get to Colorado yourself. And we're talking 1899. There's no highways. There's very little infrastructure. So these guys had to march basically all the way from, I think it was San Diego up to Los Angeles and then get on the plane or on the train back to Denver. And so pretty much after the way Irving Hale seen how veterans were treated when they get back from a foreign conflict is when he basically met at our state capitol with a bunch of his officers, and they founded what is now the Veterans of Foreign Wars. So there's and it's a little weird because there's a little bit of weird timing. So the government wasn't doing very well for veterans in 1899 across the country. We just got out of that war with Spain, and we got all these new territories and all this other stuff, right? And then it was the first time that Americans have been sent somewhere outside of our own country, because all the wars that happened before the Spanish-American War all happened right here in America. So the government didn't know what to do. So basically, there was a group in Denver, and there was a group in Ohio, and there was a group in Philadelphia basically doing the same thing all at the same time. Basically, just like these guys were basically thinking the same thing. So basically what happened was, flash forward 15 years later, those three groups ended up coming together and forming what is the VFW.
Yeah.
And they used to have the conventions here in Denver, and that's why we ended up getting the first one. There's a lot of different weird stories that might have happened of why we're the first one, but
and I know a little bit about this, but I definitely want you to elaborate and explain this. But when I think of a VFW, I think of a bunch of drunk old vets sitting around a trashed bar almost. I mean, that with most love and respect. The VFW 1 is incredibly different. Would you talk about what the differences are and the things that make VFW 1 what it is and why it's so different?
Well, and to be fair, it's not much different than the other VFWs out in the thing, because there are VFWs out there that are trying to do what we're doing. And what we're doing is we're focusing more on our programs and becoming an actual veteran service organization versus being a dive bar. because the dive bar model, it might have worked in the 1950s. It might have worked in, back in the day, but like this organization is way more important than the dive bar model. Like,
I agree with that.
the whole reason why this was formed was to get our benefits. The whole reason why we just got the PACT Act is because of the VFW members. The whole reason why we got a GI Bill, why we got comp and pen, why we got all these wonderful things that takes so hard for you to get as a veteran. The reason why we have these benefits is because there was a bunch of people wearing funny hats that said, "Hey, we got to advocate for this." And like we're a different special nonprofit because we can actually like go to Congress and we can advocate for our benefits. So basically, how I like to, and especially since the time is now and how everybody sees it, but there's unions, and we're basically a union for your veteran benefits.
And I know when I finally ended up getting my 100% PTSD, my 100% permanent total, I went to my VSO. And again, if veterans, if you don't know what a VSO is, go find your VSO. If you don't know, contact one of us. But I actually went through, the power of attorney goes through the VFW, DAV, or a few other things. I actually used the VFW. And after, I think it was 5 years of fighting with the VA, I finally got the 100% permanent total. And there's a lot of vets out there that still don't want to go for their benefits because they have the mindset of, well, I don't deserve it. I didn't get screwed up. I can walk, I can do this. Okay, still, the VA still the VA promised you when you signed that dotted line that if and when something happens to you, we will take care of you. And the VFW, correct me if I'm wrong, what their job is to continue fighting with you to get your benefits.
Yeah. And that's basically the whole reason why we're around. And like what a lot of people don't understand when it comes to your benefits, when it comes to like going with one of our, VSO, our veteran service officers, by going with one of our people, they can actually sit with you in the court when you have that hearing with a judge after the VA says no 500 times. They can actually advocate on your behalf. They can turn in stuff on your behalf. If you spend money on one of these lawyers, or claim sharks is what we like to call them in the VFW.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, they'll get you 100%, but they might sit on your paperwork for 10 to 15 years just so that they can get a bigger back pay on your benefits.
And I know there's some of those programs that have helped, but why would you want to give away your money when the VFW will do it for free?
Yeah, and the VFW will do it for free. The Legion will do it for free. The DAV will do it for free. The Purple Heart Association will do it for free. There are plenty of VSOs out there that are just literally like for the Colorado veterans. If you go to that Van Gordon building, there's 4 of them right there in that office. Yep. And if you have a Purple Heart, you can go with the Purple Heart Society.
I was just talking about the Van Gogh office and with my wife, we're talking about dealing with some paperwork things. And I'm like, you know what? It's one of the greatest offices I've ever dealt with to deal with benefits and stuff. You walk in and you're basically instantaneously taken care of. Don't bring a fucking pocket knife. They have federal security.
Yeah. Don't bring a pocket knife. Don't bring concealed carry.
Don't carry. Don't have a pocket knife. Okay. Obviously, if you don't have a pocket knife, definitely don't fucking carry. They run a tight ship, to say the least. But very simple to walk in those doors, and magically, like when you need something from a different entity, it's at the end of the hallway, the other direction. Oh, we need this now. It's it's in the middle of the hallway. Go that way. Like you can accomplish the world there. Kind of like when you're active duty and they're like, this needs done. You're hand walking it, and you hand walk, a soldier's paperwork for BAH, hand to hand to hand. Boom, you get it done in an hour. Same thing there. It's great.
Well, and a lot of people don't realize, like, they'll go out and they'll get their 100% and they'll get this giant back pay, and they'll be like, okay, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go buy like a brand new truck. But then they don't realize that they can get free license plates in the state of Colorado because they have a disability over 50%. And you can do it right at that office. You can hand walk that all the way around and show up to the DMV with your paperwork, and you have your freaking registration forever.
Absolutely. Many states have different versions of this, but while you're there, you can file for your homeowner's property tax to be cut in half up to $2,500 a month. So by simply just filing it. There's so many things that can be accomplished in there, and so many different things out there that you don't know about that, you know.
Yeah, student loans. If you get 100% permanent and total, those are forgiven. And like a lot of people don't realize, like, okay, you're not screwed up now. But we've all heard of those guys that were in Agent Orange and ended up with these crazy cancers. And what we're seeing right now with post 9/11 veterans, especially with the burn pits, is we're seeing, you know, stage 4 brain cancers, lung cancers popping up in their 40s, like early 40s and late 30s. Like we have a guy at my post right now that has stage 4 brain cancer, and it's from the burn pits in Iraq. And the VA kept denying him and denying him and denying him. And I'm happy to report he's still with us a year and a half later, and he's been doing very well cancer-wise. But if we weren't around to help him and support him and get things done, he probably would have gave up, you know, a year and a half ago when he got his diagnosis and just let the cancer take him. And, you know, he thanks us constantly just for how much we've supported him. And that's what a lot of people like. When you enter a VFW post, you're there for the camaraderie. You're there to find those battle buddies, those shipmates, whatever the hell the Air Force calls it, their buddies. They're chairmates. But
dude, nothing like
right?
Navy guy to be trashing the Air Force. It's okay. Look, it's okay. I don't know if you use, but God created the Army so all of the rescue branches could have heroes. So it's okay. I'll still sit with you and your.
Thank God the Marines aren't around right now, right? Or this would get really weird. Oh, did we just freeze? Am I the only one on there? I'm going to laugh if I'm the only one on their feed. Is everything frozen?
I had an old Vietnam guy. There we go. I think we're back. There.
We're back.
Well, hey. Because I live in civilization.
The bunker is legit a bunker. That is not an exaggeration. It just doesn't look like it behind us, but we were in a bunker, and the bunker got hit with a storm like 10 minutes into the show, knocked out power, knocked out everything. So security's been running around trying to fix it.
Go figure. But right. Yeah, like at Post 1, it's like you end up gaining like a family, and a family of other veterans where we can bust each other's balls, but we can also, you know, help out our community at the same time. And one of the things that does make us different is we are in the art district. We do have an art gallery. We do have 80% of the art on the wall is done by veterans. So basically, what do you do after you went to, you know, the art therapy program at the VA? I don't know, just let it collect in your basement. No, you come down to Post 1 on second Saturday. We have an open call, and you show your work and you learn how to be a professional artist. And that's one of the things that we've been working on. And then we also have like Healing Warriors program. If anybody has heard of them, they're an amazing nonprofit that comes in, gives free acupuncture, free cranial sacral, free healing touch, which the healing touch is kind of a little weird because there's this little old lady and she'll like hold you like a baby. But apparently it's supposed to be really good for PTSD and you know, all those other things. But
well, a lot of those therapies are extremely helpful. And for a lot of the guys out there that think, oh, art therapy is stupid. I was one of them.
Yeah.
At the Marcus Institute, part of the things that they're putting us through the 3 weeks is art therapy. That's actually become one of my favorite therapies. I'm not gonna lie. Like it doesn't matter what it looks like. Your art is your art. And it's actually extremely helpful to get some of those emotions out on the paper, on the wood, whatever it is you're working on, man.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't realize like how. So what we also have at Post One, we have meditation and we have yoga classes, and
Nice.
those are weekly. So like on Tuesday at 7:00, you can come in and do yoga. Right now, actually, what's going on at the Post right now is we have a jam session going on. So there's a bunch of people there with guitars just playing away. But yeah, art in general is a meditation practice. Like while you're just like painting there, even if you're just like throwing, paint on the canvas, it's a meditative practice, and you can kind of like work through some issues and work through some things while you're just painting. And it's almost like you're training your brain to, fix itself while you're sitting there just painting random stuff.
Man, I've tried more in art therapy in the last 3 weeks than I think I have in my whole life, man.
Yeah.
It some things out, dude. And it's, if you really pay attention to the art and what it's telling you, and then you have an actual art therapist kind of helping you determine what it is that you're putting on the paper and how it correlates to some of the things that you might be, struggling with. It's amazing what some of the things they can pull out of you.
Well, and when it becomes your hobby too, and then a lot of guys don't know what to do with themselves. And honestly, once they start selling their work, you start creating more art, because then you're like, oh, now, and then that way you also get that positive feedback that not a lot of veterans get. Like we're not in the community. We like to like hang out with our boys and hang out with ourselves and just kind of isolate. And that's one thing we kind of encourage at our post is we have this thing called First Friday. It actually happens this Friday. There's going to be 4,000 people in there. You know how hard that is for people with PTSD, but you know how easy it is after they've done it quite a few times. We also have a space where if they just need to get away for a little bit, they can just walk into the back room and just chill out. Like I tell people all the time, like if you're getting overwhelmed just by people being there, go ahead and chill out. And really what is kind of crazy, once they start talking about their art and start talking with all these people, and for some of these guys, they just like seeing the hot women. But once they start talking to all these people, they almost forget that they have PTSD. They almost forget that, they're always ducking behind themselves or loud noises. Like it's loud as shit every First Friday. It is one of the busiest nights we have. It is the only night that we have any alcohol. And I tell all of the artists, like, you can have 1 drink or 2 drinks, but if you get hammered, you're done at our program, because we're like really trying to have that professionalism when it comes to that. And even when it comes to our own VFW members, we don't allow people to get totally sauced, because like you guys were talking about earlier, it's not exactly productive. Like it's okay to have a drink here and there, but if all you're doing is getting hammered every day, you're really not,
You said it nice.
Best life.
We can say unhealthy as fuck. You're on show. We're not in FM. We don't have to listen to FCC, and some people need to fucking hear it. Just put it out there.
Yeah, it's really fucking true.
It's unhealthy as fuck.
Well, and see, the funny thing is because I'm trying to, move up into the ranks, they keep telling me, Jesse, all this other stuff, but you need to stop saying the word fuck. So I've been actually like working on myself.
It's a good word, though. You can use it in so many fucking different ways.
You're on the wrong radio show for not using the word fuck. All right, Jesse, listen, we have definitely taken up more of your time than we asked you for, and I appreciate that. But at the end, we always like to make sure that you get a couple minutes to go over whatever you want whenever somebody comes on here, usually they're like, oh, I want to talk about this, this, and this. And then we skate through, and all of a sudden, whatever you felt was the most important, we just glazed over or glossed over. So, in about 2 minutes, I don't time you, but if there's anything that we missed to bring up that you want to talk about, or some things on your list, whatever it is, you get a couple minutes, bud, and it's your time.
Okay, so basically, just in closing, if you're a post 9/11 veteran, the VFW needs you now more than ever, because the Vietnam veterans, the Korean War veterans, they're dying, and they're dying quickly. And this order will not be around unless our generation steps up for the next generation above us. If your post isn't what you want it to be, come check out Post One. I welcome transfers. I welcome new members all the time. And I am one of those weird people that does everything online. So you can find us at VFW post1.org, and you can actually sign up online. You can pay your dues online. You can even set it up to where you don't even have to worry about dues again. I tell everybody, you might as well just get the lifetime membership. It'll pay itself back in whole, especially after you die, because we do get a life benefit or a life and death benefit. So, there's many reasons to join the VFW. One is just to be another one of those voices that says, hey, government, we're here. We're veterans. We gave you a check, and now it's time for you to cash it. So
I like that.
Love it a lot. I mean, I'm a member of the VFW back home. The White Bear Lake VFW is beautiful. It's right on the lakeside, and it's renovated. How can we help get some of these VFWs that aren't doing so well, get them renovated so they can actually be a little bit more inviting?
And honestly, what it really has to do is it has to do with the veterans getting involved. We actually, because I'm actually in the Department of Colorado right now, I might as well say it. We do have a new VFW that we're starting up in Castle Rock. Been trying to get that one going. I'm on the team to help that VFW start. And basically, it's going to be a virtual post where you guys can meet up randomly at places. See, there's a lot of this. Let's join the, irreverent warriors. Let's join, disgruntled veterans. Let's join all these new things. But when it really comes down to it, they don't have that pull in Congress and the Senate that we do. And what it really takes for VFWs to start being more friendly for post 9/11 vets is for us post 9/11 vets to get in there and vote for the change that we want. It really comes down to that. The only place, honestly, where democracy actually freaking works in this country is in a VFW, and I've seen it firsthand. It's like one person wants it this way, and then the majority wants it this way. Guess where it went to? The majority. And now it's that's why art and programs is so important at our post, is because that's what our members want. And I will say it over and over again. Your VFW is what you make it. So if you want your VFW to stop smoking indoors, put it on the floor during a meeting and have it voted out. If you want, you guys to focus on, having a wellness committee and coming up with ideas like bringing in comeback yoga for yoga classes, bringing in, different organizations to do things. That all comes down to a membership vote. And it is the only place where you can actually see democracy work. Because, because we already know those guys and gals over in Washington don't give a fuck about us. So it really comes down to us taking care of ourselves and us taking care of our brothers and sisters in arms that, wore our country's uniform, no matter if it was Air Force.
Listen to that. You got one more in. Jesse, thank you for your time this evening. Go home, kick the dog, yell at the old lady, have some quality time to yourself.
Well, I'm already home.
Oh,
well, office, man.
Oh, man, you got a sweet office.
Yeah, I got my Ninja Turtles up there. I got my wrestling figures there.
I was going to message you after because I also have a bunch of action figures in the packaging hung all over, man. You should. My son has he has crown molding, but it's really just kick-ass action figures all the way around it. Love that shit.
Yeah.
All right, thanks for being on. I'm going to have to go down there and check out Post One. I'm basically.
Yeah, we're going to be open this Friday. We'll be open this Friday from 5:30 to 10 o'clock. Yeah, definitely come check us out, and your guys' beer is on me.
All right. Thanks. Have a good night, brother.
All right, man. Have a good one.
It's good to see our generation of veterans starting to take over some of the leadership positions in the VFW, because that is a big issue that a lot of our vets have, is I feel like it's not welcoming for us.
Yeah, it's really like there's so many times it's just like, oh, this is just a dive bar with some really old dudes getting drunk. And by old dudes, I mean some old crusty guys. I don't mean that bad, right? Yeah. And I'm not just saying it by a numerical age. It's the way of being, but we can talk about that. Folks, we're jamming now, and we have 3 bits to do. One of them was one of our absolute favorite bits from our listeners. It's Private Carl. And Private Carl sometimes is Private Carol. Sometimes it's Chairman Carl. Sometimes it's, Red Crayon eating Carl. Sometimes it's a civilian. This week, we're going to do Canine Carl.
Although I don't disagree with what he did, though. I kind of like it. I think it's funny.
Yeah. So this is a CNN news article. I went to CNN so it wouldn't be biased, because it's about our wonderful president, Joe Biden. President Joe Biden's younger dog, Commander, bit yet another U.S. Secret Service agent at the White House Monday evening. CNN has learned this is the 11th known biting incident involving the 2-year-old German Shepherd. Folks, don't know if you know this, but if I own a dog and it bites somebody, I end up in fucking dog court. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they put down the dog then. If I end up in a dog court the second time, the fucking dog's gone. They put him down. This is his second dog, his 11th bite. At what number do you say, hey, I'm not saying you put the dog down. I'm saying this dog is clearly needing a different environment and some training. And his owner is clearly at what number? Because it's way before 11. It's way before 11. The owners need to take responsibility. Okay, but this just...
It should really be before
we're not
1.
Supposed to be
you should be training your dogs.
But we have an incompetent human being leading the free world. The dude can't form a sentence. He can't walk across the stage. He can't walk down the stairs. He can't ride a bicycle. Again, can't form a fucking sentence. Really can't form words. And he has a fucking degenerate dog who is not really the dog's fault. It's obviously his fault because his responsibility. Fucking biting service members. Okay, wait. We were just saying that there was a number was way before 11, right?
Oh, yeah. It should be before none. Before they even do it.
One bite, we got something going. Right? Yes, but let's say things do happen sometimes. Let's say a dog bites.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe isolated incident. Bites second time. We have some serious fucking things we're changing. I'm at 2. Okay, but here's the thing. I don't know if you guys caught it in there. This is his second dog in the White House. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Okay, so he also had a previous dog at
Same
the White
issue,
House.
right?
10 fucking bites. At 10 bites, they took him out and took him home and brought in the second dog, a younger one, and we're at bite 11. So we're at 21 fucking bites. What the fuck?
Something's not going right there. I don't care who you are. I don't care left, right. It doesn't matter. Anyone has a dog that's biting somebody this much should not be around that many people.
Dude.
Should definitely be in a different environment.
The White House is full of people all the time. Mm-hmm. Like, we want to talk about having a safe working environment. Your fucking president can't even provide that, and the fucking White House. That is ridiculous. Asinine. Canine Carl is not the problem. But anyway, so that's it.
It's kind of a reflection of the owners usually.
I don't think he could bite somebody. Man, that was only a job. I don't know. Anyway, I'll quit. So, with that being said, we need to close out with our safety brief. Sometimes I have a funny one. Sometimes a zinger one-liner. Sometimes I try to do some deep shit. I do have one for tonight, and it's very different. But I've been thinking about it all fucking week. No, since probably Friday or Saturday. I was just thinking about all sorts of like veteran issues I dealt with and things in life, and mental health this, mental health that. But so this was weighing on me. Do you have one for tonight?
Yeah, always. I like to tell people often, what would the person I want to be do in this situation? If you don't have a purpose, you should be searching for that purpose. That now is your purpose. If you're secluded, you need to stop isolating yourself because you're doing it to yourself. I don't care who you are. Nobody is isolated unless you do something stupid, But
No.
For the most part, reach out to somebody. There's always somebody that wants to talk to you. I obviously talk about suicide often because of what I do. If you're struggling, reach out for help. Go to the VFW, reach out for help. Contact a local nonprofit, contact your VSO, contact a battle buddy. Do not isolate yourself because that only leads to bad places.
I like it. I never in my entire life took a vacation until I was almost 30 years old. My version of a vacation when I was in the military was I got my 2 weeks of leave, I come home and visit friends and family, and I go back to fucking work. Folks, there's nothing that says you can't take vacations. I mean, a vacation isn't going back home seeing family. Fucking book a goddamn flight somewhere you haven't been. Go experience something new. Take some time where you're not working, you're not dealing with the hamster wheel. Okay, take a vacation. Think about how amazing a dog's life is. Right? They want to help and please other people. Right? Like make other people happy, do work for them. And then they just kind of live life for what the fuck they want right there and there. If they want to sniff an asshole, I mean, they're in it.
I don't recommend going around sniffing assholes, though.
Folks,
location.
Take a vacation. Give some time to yourself. Give some space and some care for yourself. Right? Like give a shit about yourself so you feel good, you feel happy. That's my safety brief.
I often say self-care is not selfish.
It is not.
It's
I love
necessary.
that one. And then we're going to close out with a never forgotten. Oh. So we're going to see if I can get through this, and if I can't, you can finish it off, folks. One of my brothers from my first unit passed away this week. So read this. Or so I'm going to read this. Our beloved Stephen Donald James Pizzulo was laid to rest at the age of 44 on August 28, 2023. He was a son, a brother, a father, a soldier, and a friend. He is survived by his wife, Nikki Pizzulo, and the special love they shared. Mother Pamela, father Stephen, and stepmother Angie. Sisters Heather, Rebecca, sons Jacob, Darnell, and Keegan. Stepdaughters Jaden and Lexi. Mother-in-law Carrie. Steve is no stranger to hard work, and he exemplified that in his service as U.S. Army Ranger Sergeant. His service included 2 tours in Afghanistan, and he was honored with numerous service medals and decorations. Throughout his honorable military career, he distinguished himself and brought great pride to his fellow soldiers and his country. He was often spoken of by his comrades as a leader, a mentor, and the first soldier on the front line. Steve loved life, working with wood, making old things new again, and spending time outdoors. He was strong, honest, and respectful. You can always count on him. You could always count on him. We will miss Steve dearly and are grateful for his presence on Earth. There will be a celebration of life in Brookings, Oregon, if anybody's interested. Or is out in Oregon. Folks, you can do all the greatest fucking things in the world and come home and fucking also do some great things and be destructive to yourself in so many fucking ways. Reach out to your friends, reach out to your brothers, check on them. And if you're the one that, needs checked on, fucking reach out to other people. And there's no reason to be in a shitty spot. Too many fucking cool ass programs and things that we can do as veterans to stay safe, stay happy, enjoy life. Okay. That's it for tonight, guys. Thanks for listening to us. Nick, thanks for helping out again.
I can be here.
All right. Next week, you get me and that handsome fellow, Robert Shenanigans, back. Hopefully you had a great vacation, and is excited to give you guys a great show again next week.
Thanks for having me, man.
For sure.
Appreciate it.